I'm very glad to be here. Hello, Dima. Dima, there's a gap, your queen, Tiatu jump your queen, and one dollar.
Sayadaw says he's very happy to have the opportunity to speak to you about the Dhamma here.
Tiatu jump, Jajimade. Tiatu jump, Biojimade. Tiatu go sing with Zavade.
So he is interested in the practice. He wants to hear about the practice and he wants to discuss the practice with all of you. Because this is our life. Without the practice, our mind can become full of unskillful thoughts and life can become very difficult for ourselves.
So the retreat ma
So in this retreat, he's not even interested for you to have an insight. He just wants you to practice. That's all. To be interested in the process of practice. So he's going to tell you a little bit about how he views practice.
So the
practice of the Dhamma is, in fact, the practice of cultivating or increasing the good qualities in our mind. All of us have good qualities of mind. In Burmese, they call Dharma mind. Basically, they're minds that are reasonable, that are balanced. And the practice of sustaining these states of mind, of growing, cultivating these states of mind, learning how to have more of these states of mind is called meditation. And the practice of meditation is something we do with our mind, is the work of the mind. And in the practice of meditation, there's two bits. The object bit of the practice and the mind bit of the practice.
So
you have to understand what an object is and what the nature of an object is.
So object
being an object means that whatever it is being known, is being observed. And to have that role of being something that is being observed or being known is its nature. That's its role. But the act of meditation is not done by the objects which are being known. The act of meditation is the act of using the mind to know. And in that mind that is acting to do the meditation, it's very important that those good qualities that we're talking about just now, that they're coexisting in that mind. So it's very important not to be trying to meditate in tandem with a mind that has greed, or in tandem with a mind that is aversive or deluded. The most common unskillful partner in the act of meditation is greed.
Yeah. So if loba dora moha ne atho mi yinတရားထုတ်တာမမှန်တော့ဘူးအကျိုးပေးမကောင်းတော့ဘူး
But whether it's greed or aversion or delusion, if any of it is present in our meditation, then we will find that we're not meditating very well.
ဆိုတော့အကျိုးပေးကိုမျောတာကလောဘရဲ့တစ်ပါးပါ
So what the greed or the aversion or the delusion is towards is actually the result. When we want a result or don't want this result or don't know what to do with this result.
အဲ့တော့အာထုံနိုင်တယ်လို့အာထုတိုက်ရင်အာထုတတ်တယ်လို့အကျိုးပေးရပြီးသားပဲ
He says, as much as you know how to practice and as much as you apply yourself to the practice, that's how much you are already succeeding in every moment.
So result ကအရေးမကြီးတော့ result တိတ်မျောလင်းစရာမလို
So there is no future result to look for or to want. It's already here right now.
ဒါမှမဟုတ်အာထုမှုကိုပိုစိတ်ဝင်စားပါလို့ပြောတာ
That's why he's more interested in the process of practice in every moment.
ဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒီအကြောင်းကျိုးကိုနားလည်တဲ့လူကအများကြီးမလို့ခြင်းပိုလည်းမလို့ခြင်း
When we understand that there is a process of cause and effect in motion, he says then we are interested in the moments which are causes and effects, and we're not interested in any future result anymore because we can learn from this process.
အေးပါအများကြီးမလို့ခြင်းတော့ပို့ပြီးတော့မလို့ခြင်းတော့လောက်တော့ရမယ်ဆိုတော့သဘောပေါက်နေ
So in every moment we understand that whatever we have done, the result is here now, and there's no need to hanker for anything more or less.
အဲ့တော့မမှန်ကန်ကန်အားထုတ်နေဖို့ပဲလိုတယ်
So we just need to be practicing steadily.
And မမှန်ကန်ကန်ဖြစ်ဖို့ right ဖြစ်ဖို့လိုတယ်
In the right way, in a skillful way.
အာယုံအကြောင်းခုနပြောသလိုအာယုံကခုနပြောလူတစ်ယောက်မှာအာယုံ6ပါးရှိတယ်
All of us have 6 sense doors, and through these 6 sense doors we only have these 6 objects that we can possibly be aware of at any time.
အဲ့တော့ဒီအာယုံတွေအကြောင်းပြုပြီးတော့စိတ်မှာတတိတမာတိဉာဏ်ဖြစ်အောင်နေတာကိုလည်းတရားထုတ်တယ်လို့ခေါ်တယ်
So when we use these objects to develop sati, samadhi and panya, I hope everybody understands Pali. Do I have to say it in English as well? Yes? Everything's fine? Anybody want to put up their hand? Okay, I can use Pali. So when you use the objects to develop sati, samadhi and panya in the mind, that is the act of meditation or practicing meditation.
တရားမထုတ်တဲ့လူတွေလည်းအာယုံ6ပါးပဲသူတရားထုတ်တဲ့လူလည်းအာယုံ6ပါးပဲဒါမှဖြစ်တဲ့စိတ်ချင်းမတူဘူး
Whether one is meditating or not, everybody experiences the 6 sense objects. But what happens to the mind that is experiencing the 6 sense objects, that differs in one who is meditating and one who is not.
တရားမထုတ်တဲ့လူတွေကြတော့ဒီအာယုံ6ပါးကိုအကြောင်းပြုပြီးတော့လောဘဒေါသမောဟတွေပဲဖြစ်တယ်ခိတိတာတွေပဲဖြစ်တယ်
For one who is not meditating or one who has not the right view, then because of the 6 sense objects, lobha, dosa and moha can arise.
ဟိုတရားဓမ္မတွေကြတော့ knowledge ရှိတဲ့အတွက်အသိဉာဏ်ရှိတဲ့အတွက်ဒီအာယုံအကြောင်းပြုပြီးတော့တတိတမာတိဉာဏ်ဖြစ်အောင်ကြိုးစားနိုင်တယ်
Pian pyo ba phya.
တရားထုတ်တဲ့လူတွေကြတော့ဒီအာယုံ6ပါးအကြောင်းပြုပြီးတော့ဉာဏ်ရှိတဲ့အတွက်နော် knowledge ရှိတဲ့အတွက်တတိတမာတိဉာဏ်ဖြစ်အောင်ကြိုးစားနိုင်တယ်
But for meditators, we can use these 6 sense objects, and because we have some knowledge, we can use the 6 objects to try to develop sati, samadhi and panya in the mind.
So knowledge အရေးကြီးတယ်
So that basis, that knowledge is very important.
အသိဉာဏ်ပါမှတရားထုတ်ရတာပို့ပြီးတော့အဆင်ပြေတယ်
So there has to be some knowledge, some general knowledge about meditation and the Dharma.
So information စုံစုံလေးရမှသူကစဉ်းစားတာလည်းမှန်မယ် information တွေမှန်လို့ရှိရင်စဉ်းစားတာမှန်မယ်လုပ်တာလည်းမှန်မယ်
Because when we have some of this basic knowledge, we're able to think about things in a reasonable way or a skillful way. So we're able to use those 6 sense objects in a skillful way.
ဆိုတော့ပို့ပြီးပြောချင်တာကအသိဉာဏ်အရေးကြီးတဲ့အကြောင်းပြောချင်တာဝိပဿနာအားထုတ်ရမယ်ဆိုပညာကအရေးပါလာပြီ
So he wants to now talk about how important this basic knowledge is. In the practice of vipassana, panya is very important to help the practice to grow as well.
So ဝိပဿနာယူရချက်လည်းအတိညာဖြစ်ဖို့ဉာဏ်ဖြစ်လာဖို့
First of all, the objective of vipassana is the development of wisdom.
ဆိုတော့အစတွေကခုန knowledge ရလဲမကန်ကန် knowledge ရထားရမယ်ပြီးစဉ်းစားတာလည်းမှန်ရမယ်ဒါမှမှန်ကန်တဲ့ဉာဏ်ကြီးဖြစ်လာနိုင်တယ်
So to begin the practice of vipassana, we also need just the basic second-hand knowledge. We need to be able to think about it and process it in the right way ourselves and apply it to the practice in order to develop more wisdom.
အဲ့တော့ဉာဏ်မှာခုနပြောဘုဒ္ဓဉာဏ်ရယ်စဉ်းစားဉာဏ်ရယ်နောက် insight ၃မျိုးရှိတယ်
So you've all heard of Suttamaya Panya, Chintamaya Panya, Bhavanamaya Panya. So, sorry, I've got to explain this. Okay, please put up your hand if you don't understand immediately, yeah? Then I will stop. So, to put it in simple words, there is general knowledge or knowledge that is gained, that's the Suttamaya Panya, that you hear from someone or you read about it. Yep, it's second-hand knowledge. You take that and you process it in your own mind, and if it feels intuitive to you, if you're able to see it and think of it in a reasonable way, that's Chintamaya Panya. Yep, and then you apply that to the practice of meditation. And then when you've practiced for some time, you'll find that you're able to understand something more, and that is called insight. The application of the first two kinds of knowledge leading to more experienced knowledge.
မှန်ကန်ကန် knowledge တွေရှိထားလို့ရှိရင်သူစဉ်းစားတာလည်းမှန်လာမယ်အဲ့တော့ attitude ကပိုးမှန်လာမယ်
Mamankanka knowledge ရှင်
စဉ်းစားတာလည်းမှန်လာမယ်တွေးတော့တာအယူဆမှန်လာမယ်
So if that basic knowledge you have, that second-hand knowledge you have, if you receive the right kinds of second-hand knowledge, you're able to think about things in a skillful way because you've got the right knowledge. In the same way, when you've experienced, you have some experiential knowledge, and it also feeds back into being able to think about things in skillful ways and progress your practice.
အဲ့တော့တရားကြီးနားရတယ်နောက်တရားနားထောင်ရတယ်နောက်စာရီဖတ်ရတယ်နောက်မေးရတယ်မြင်ရတယ် discuss လုပ်ရတယ်ဒါမှအတိညာဏ်ကြီးရလာမှာအဲ့ဒီအတိညာဏ်ကြီးရလာရင်သူကအတွေးခေါ်ယူဆပြီးမှလာမှာ
So in the practice of meditation, actually that second-hand knowledge has a very important role to play. So we need to read a lot about the Dhamma, we need to listen to the Dhamma a lot, and we need to ask and discuss the Dhamma. And that will help us to grow our knowledge so that we can think about things in ways that are skillful for us to progress our own practice.
Right view အရေးကြီးလားပညာ right view ဆိုတာTamadetiဆိုတာပညာပဲ
One of these kinds of second-hand knowledge that we get is the concept of right view.
ဆိုတော့ right view ကဘယ်လိုစဉ်းစားရမလဲဆိုရင်တဘာဝလို့စဉ်းစားမှာ
What is right view? Is when you take what is happening, there is a natural process in progression, and you take it to be just that, a natural process.
ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တ attva အနေနဲ့အာရုံမပြုတော့ဘူး
Not a person or a being, but a process in motion.
nature တဘာဝလို့နှလုံးသွင်းနိုင်မှအဲ့အောင်ဒီတဘာဝကိုနားလည်မှဝိပဿနာအထောက်အဆင်ပြေတယ်
So as Sayadaw puts it so simply, when you can see that nature is nature, then because Dhamma is nature and nature is Dhamma, then your practice also becomes Dhamma or natural.
So any object အာယုံတွေကြုံနေတယ်အတွေ့အကြုံတွေအာယုံတွေအားလုံးဟာတဘာဝလို့နှလုံးသွင်းထားမှာ
So whatever you experience, whatever you come across, remember to see it through the glass of understanding that this is a natural process.
ငါကိုငါစိတ်လို့မစဉ်းစားဘူး
Not my body, not my mind.
ဒီအယူမှနဲ့အယူမှအရေးကြီးတယ်ဝိပဿနာအထောက်တဲ့နေရာမှာ
So for the practice of vipassana, knowing, recognizing wrong view and right view is very important.
ကိုယ်စိတ်ကိုပြန်ကြည့်တဲ့ခါကျရင်ငါစိတ်လို့ယူလိုက်ရင်အဲ့မှာကိလေသာတွေပိုဖြစ်လာနိုင်တယ်
When you're watching the mind and what it's doing, and when you think, why is my mind like this? My mind, immediately everything becomes more complicated. difficult.
စိတ်ကိုတဘာဝလို့စဉ်းစားမှဝိပဿနာထုတ်လို့ရတယ်
But when you see it as a natural process, oh, there is this process of mind happening, then it feels more natural to also observe it.
သူ့ကိုသိချင်တဲ့စိတ်ထားလို့ရတယ်သူ့စိတ်ဝင်စားလို့ရတယ်
You're able to bring a more a learning attitude to it, to observe it, to learn about it.
ဆိုတော့ကြုံနေသမျှအတွေ့အကြုံတွေအာယုံတွေအားလုံးကိုတဘာခုနပြောတဘာဝကိုတဘာဝလို့စဉ်းစားမယ်ဒါမှမဟုတ်ရင်အာယုံကိုအာယုံလို့ပဲစဉ်းစားမယ်
Yes. So whatever you experience, he says, you can either bring this view to it, that this is nature, nature is just nature, or the view that this is just an object, it is just being known.
တဘာဝဆိုတာဒီ nature ဆိုတာကသူ့အကြောင်းနဲ့သူ့အကျိုးနဲ့ဖြစ်နေဖြစ်စဉ်အကြောင်းအကျိုးဖြစ်စဉ်တစ်ခုပဲအဲလူပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တ attva မဟုတ်ဘူး
The concept of nature, Dhamma, he says, is the concept that this is actually a process of cause and effect. It's happening on its own terms.
ဆိုတော့ဒီ point of view နဲ့ပဲဒီကိုပြန်ကြည့်ရမှာ
So you have to watch yourself with this point of view, from this point of view.
Now ဒီမှာတတိပဋ္ဌာန်အားထုတ်မယ်ဆိုတော့တတိအကြောင်းလည်းသိရမှာ
And we're going to practice Satipatthana, so we need to understand what Sati is. Does everybody know Satipatthana?
mindfulness
Satipatthana is are the foundations of mindfulness. So Sati is mindfulness or awareness. Yeah.
so ဒီ awareness ရဲ့တဘာဝကိုပေါ်အောင်လို့အနည်း example လုပ်ကြည့်မယ်
So he wants to do a little demonstration with you, with yourselves as guinea pigs, so that the nature of mindfulness awareness is highlighted.
သူတို့မေးကြည့်ပါသူတို့မြင်တာကိုမြင်မှန်းသိသလားလို့
Right now, you are seeing. You recognize that you're seeing. Yes? Does anyone say no? Put up your hand.
သိကြတယ်နော်
Everybody knows.
သိကြတယ်နော်
Sure. Sayadaw says, are you sure?
ဘယ်တော့စသိတာလဲ
When did you start recognizing that you're seeing? When he asked the question? Yes. Are we unanimous on that?
yes ဒါပဲပြောချင်တယ်
That's what he wants to point out.
so awareness ဆိုတာဒါပဲ
That's awareness. When you recognize,
awareness ဆိုတာမမေ့တာပါတဘာဝမမေ့တာ
when you recognize the experience, that nature, you remember actually to notice it. This nature, that's mindfulness.
လူတွေမျက်လုံးသာဖွင့်ထားတယ်သူတို့မြင်တာကိုမြင်မှမသိဘူး
We have our eyes open, but we don't recognize the process of sight happening.
ဘာကြောင့်လဲဆိုမောဟအချင်းလို့
It's because we're full of delusion.
so awareness ဆိုတာမမေ့တာဒီတရားတဘောကိုတဘာဝတရားကိုနော်တရားတဘောကိုတကယ်ရှိတဲ့သဘောတရားကိုမမေ့တာ awareness လို့ခေါ်တတိလို့ခေါ်တယ်
So that's what awareness is. Awareness is the remembrance of the processes that are happening naturally within ourselves, within our minds and our bodies.
အဲ့တော့ကိုယ်အာယုံတွေကိုဓာရတွေကိုပြန်သိတာကိုတတိလို့ခေါ်တယ်
So knowing our own sense, recognizing our own sense processes, our hearing, our seeing, our touch, touching, thinking, other mind processes, recognizing them, remembering them is meditation.
so ဘယ်လောက်အားဆိုင်လိုက်ရတယ်အဲ့ဒါသိဖို့မြင်တာမြင်မှန်းသိဖို့ဘယ်လောက်အားဆိုင်လိုက်ရ
So how much energy did you need to exert to recognize that you are seeing?
အားဆိုင်ဖို့မလိုဘူးနားလည်ဖို့ပဲလိုတယ်
Zero. So all you had to do was notice. You didn't even have to put in any more than that. Yes?
yeah သူနားလည်ရင်သူအာယုံပြုလို့ရတယ်
If you understand this, he says, then you can start just taking in everything. You can be aware of your
so အားဆိုင်ရတာမဟုတ်ဘူးနောက်ပြီးတော့ပင်ပန်းတာလည်းမဟုတ်ဘူးဒီတိုင်းတဏီကုန်နေမယ်ဆိုလို့ဘယ်တော့မှမပင်ပန်းနိုင်ဘူး
So it's not having to put in, not exerting any energy, not having to focus or do something. And because you're not doing something, If you sustain that noticing all day long, you won't get very tired.
Yogi
Tired at all.
Yogi အများကြီးလှုပ်ရှားမလို့ဘူး
The
ဒါပေမဲ့
yogi,
ပြောတဲ့လူကအများကြီးပြောတာနားလည်အောင်
the yogi doesn't have to do much, he says, but he has to talk a lot to get the yogi to understand that.
ဒီ understand မရှိဘဲနဲ့ဒီ yogi ကသူအားထုတ်လို့မရဘူး
If the yogi doesn't understand the nature of mindfulness, then the yogi cannot apply that to his practice.
အဲ့တော့တရားထုတ်တာအဆင်မပြေနိုင်ဘူး
Then there are always hiccups in practice, up, down.
ဝိပဿနာဆိုတာဉာဏ်လို့ပဲဉာဏ်မပါဘဲနဲ့မရဘူး
Because vipassana is the work of wisdom, we need to apply some of our own wisdom, what we already have, to the practice.
theory ကိုပိုင်ပိုင်နိုင်သဘောတရားကိုရှင်းရှင်းလင်းလင်းနားမလည်ထားဘူးဆိုအားထုတ်လို့မရဘူး
So if we're not even able to think about the theory clearly, then we find it also difficult to apply it in practice.
ဟိုလူတော်တော်များများလာမေးစိတ်ကိုရှုစိတ်ကိုရှုစိတ်ကိုရှုလိုက်ရှာတာမတွေ့ဘူးတဲ့
He says yogis come and say to him, you're always saying, watch the mind, or what's happening in your mind, but I can't see the mind.
ဘာလို့ဆိုစိတ်ကို तू ကနားမလဲလို့ तू စိတ်ကိုထူးထူးဆန်းဆန်းကြီးလို့ထင်ပြီးတော့လိုက်ရှာနေတာ
But that's because they don't understand the mind. They're looking for something special, something different, and so they don't find it because they don't understand the nature of what is just
စိတ်ဆိုတာ
mind.
तू တဘွားတယ်မှာအမြဲတမ်းဖြစ်နေတယ်အမြဲတမ်းတုံးနေတယ်အမြဲတမ်းရင်းနှီးနေတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ဒါကို तू အာယုံဖြစ်မယူနိုင်ဘူး
In our lives, we use the mind all the time. That's how we function, that's how we live, that's how we do everything. But when we don't understand that it is mind, then we are not able to recognize that there is mind at work.
စိတ်ဆိုတာဘာလဲဆိုသဘောပေါက်မှအာယုံပြုလို့ရမှာပေါ့
So when we understand what mind is and what the nature of mind is, then we suddenly realize or recognize, oh, this is mine, that is mine.
so လူတိုင်းတွေးနေတာပဲအတွေးရစိတ်ပဲ
For example, all of us think. The mind is thinking. So thinking is the mind.
ဒါပေမဲ့ယောဂီတွေကတွေးရင်တွေးမှန်းသိလို့ရှိရင် तू စိတ်တူနေတာ
But when yogis recognize thinking mind, they get irritated.
အမှန်သိဖို့ကြိုးစားတာစိတ်ကိုစိတ်မှန်းသိအောင်လို့ကြိုးစားတာသိတော့လဲ तू ကဟိုစိတ်တူနေတယ်
But in fact, he says, we are practicing so that we know what's happening. And now we see the mind. It's thinking. Why are we annoyed?
ခုနကပြောသူ့မှာအယူဆမှားနေလို့
And that's because of wrong view or wrong understanding,
နော်
wrong knowledge.
တော့အတွေးရစိတ်ပဲနောက်အာယုံစိုက်တာစိတ်ပဲ focus လုပ်တယ်အပေး attention လုပ်တယ်ဆိုစိတ်ပဲ
So thinking is mind, paying attention is mind, noticing is
ခံစားမှု
mind,
ကခံစားမှုကစိတ်ပဲ
feeling is mind, being aware is mind.
ဒါတွေကနေတိုင်းလုပ်နေကြမယ်ဒါတွေကိုသိရင်ရှင်စိတ်ကိုသိတယ်လို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်
We use these every day, all the time. If we recognize that we are doing this, we are recognizing the mind.
လှုပ်ချင်တယ်၊ကြင်ချင်တယ်ဒါလည်းစိတ်ပဲ
You want to do this or do that. That's the mind wanting to do.
အဲ့တော့ခုနကပြောလို့မြင်တာနဲ့ကြည့်တာနဲ့ဘာကွာလဲ
Can you now just see what the difference is between seeing and looking at something? Can you look at something now? Maybe look at Sayadaw.
သိလားကိုကြည့်ကြည့်မှန်းသိလား
Do you know that you're looking at Sayadaw? Yes.
အဲ့ဒါဆိုစိတ်ကိုသိတာပဲ
And that thing that is looking is the mind.
looking and listening
Look.
and pay attention ဆို function အတူတူပဲ
All of them have the same function. Looking, listening, paying attention. It's a similar movement of mind. Where
ဆိုရပဲကွာလား
they're different sense doors. Looking is through the eyes, listening is through the ears, paying attention is with the mind, but they all have the same function. They bring attention to something you want to pay attention to.
ကိုတတိထားနေထားမှမသိနိုင်ဘူးလား
So when you pay attention or are being aware, can you not then recognize that you are being aware? Yes?
နားလည်ရင်တော့အာရုံပြုလို့ရမယ်
And
နားလည်သဘောပေါက်တယ်ဆိုရင်သူအာရုံပြုလို့ရမယ်
And when you understand something, like now, you nod your head in understanding, can you recognize that there is understanding, and that is the mind that is understanding?
So the gelo namale day in Ayongo Saba, Ayongo Salu Yaba.
If it's hard for you or any of you to just observe the mind like that or recognize the mind all the time like that, he says it's okay, you can take other objects as well. Anything that's being known is an object anyway. When the awareness becomes continuous, it feels like there's a train of something that's doing this awareness, this noticing. And then you can notice that quality at work as well when it's more continuous. So in this practice, and Sayadaw says, continuity is very, very important. It's essential. That's why he's taken away the timetable for this retreat. Because he wants you to practice continually, all the time, regardless of what you're doing. If there's a timetable, the habit is to do a session and then finish. So we sort of drop our mind. It's like, phew, before reloading. So he doesn't want any of this reloading and unloading. He wants you to just keep going. So, but as he explained just now, he's not asking you to do anything very tiring, so it shouldn't be very difficult to sustain this, just this noticing of your processes and carrying on. So just every moment is a moment of Dharma, is a moment of mindfulness.
Now,
so another element of practice is effort. It's called effort, but Sayadaw prefers the word perseverance. In Pali it's called virya. And Sayadaw says virya is better understood in English using the word perseverance or persistence. It's not so much an effort, it's actually a sustaining. So just that little noticing and keep on going.
So my relax PM, so sing I relax PM, turn out that PM, now sing when I'm be a man lonely.
So you just have to relax, but you need to be interested. And then the mind has to work continuously.
So interest
He talked about wisdom, how we need to bring wisdom to the practice. And he says interest is a kind of wisdom at work. Because when we're interested, we're curious. When we're curious, we want to know. And that brings light to our experience.
But
he wants that there needs to be a simplicity in the curiosity. If we want to know too much, which means we're already looking for a result and not just interested in the experience, that also can lead to problems.
So now tamadhi stability
and samadhi, another element of the practice, often translated as concentration, but samadhi is in fact just a state of mind which is stable. So stability of mind, not concentrating, just steady mind. And what brings about this steadiness is, again, right view. Concentration is not what brings the steadiness. It's right view that brings steadiness of mind. You'll notice that the moment the mind has some unskillful way of relating to its experience, it falls off balance. Yep, it loses its samadhi when it has an unskillful response to the experience.
ဥပမာယောဂီတယောက်ကသူ့မှာတတိလည်းရှိတယ်တမာတိလည်းရှိတယ်ငြိမ်နေတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့လက်ကြီးပြောက်သွားတော့လှနဲ့စိတ်ကိလေသာဖြစ်သွားတယ်ဘာကြောင့်လဲဆိုဉာဏ်မရှိလို့
For example, he says a yogi was sitting in meditation and he was aware, he was calm, and it felt like the arm disappeared and the yogi panicked. So the mind got off balance. And why did he panic? Because he didn't have the right information. So he didn't have the wisdom to know what this experience was. So it upset the balance of the mind.
ဟောတမာတိပြတ်တာပေါ့
So of course his mind was not calm anymore.
အယူဆမှားတာနဲ့တမာတိကပြတ်တယ်
So when we have wrong view or wrong understanding, we will not have a steady mind.
နောက်တစ်ခုက faith ယုံကြည်မှုရှိရမယ်ကိုယ့်ကိုယ်လည်းယုံကြည်ရမယ်ကိုယ်လုပ်တဲ့အလုပ်ပေါ်လည်းယုံကြည်ရမယ်
အဲ့ဒါနောက်ဆုံးပါဗျာ
ဟုတ်တယ်
ဝိရိယ
ဒါပြီးမှဉာဏ်နောက်ဆုံးပါပြော
နောက်ဆုံး And the fourth element is saddha or faith or interest ဟုတ်လားဗျာ
ယုံကြည်မှု
ယုံကြည်မှု faith
faith ရှိရမယ်ကိုယ့်ပုံမှာလည်းကိုယ့်လည်းယုံရမယ်ကိုယ်လုပ်တဲ့အလုပ်ပေါ်မှာလည်းယုံရမယ်
And the faith
အထုံးမှုပေါ်မှာလည်းယုံရမယ်
The faith that we need is faith in ourselves, faith in the practice.
အဲ့တော့ဒီတရားအထုတ်တာရဲ့ result ကိုအကျိုးကိုနားလည်လို့ရှိရင်တော့အဲ့တော့မှ faith ကတက်လာမှာ
And when we have practiced and we see for ourselves the benefits of the practice or how practicing in the right way helps, we will have more faith. So the practice feeds on itself.
နောက်ဆုံးတစ်ခုကပညာခုနကပြောတမ္မာဒိဋ္ဌိရှိရမယ် right view ရှိရမယ်သိချင်စိတ်ရှိရမယ်စုံစမ်းတဲ့စိတ်ရှိရမယ်
And the last element is wisdom. So he spoke about it just now. Basically, we have to have some wisdom to begin with. We have to apply our wisdom. We will gain new wisdoms, and then it will feed back into the cycle. Hold up here. Hold on.
ဒီနားထောင်ငါတစ်ခုစဉ်းစား
ဦးစင်းပြောရပြန်ပြော
ခုနသိချင်စိတ်ရှိရမယ်နားထောင်ချင်စိတ်ရှိရမဟုတ်သိချင်စိတ်ရှိရမယ်စုံစမ်းချင်စိတ်ရှိရမယ်နောက်အမြင်မှရှိရမယ်
အမြင်မှရှိရမယ် So we need to have the curiosity သိချင်စိတ်ရှိရမယ် We need to have the right view and the interest to bring to the practice
Alright view တော့နားလည်ပြီးပါပြီနော်ခုနရှင်းပြပြီးပါပြီတဘာဝလို့စဉ်းစားရမယ်
So you all understand right view, yes? Sayadaw spoke about it just now.
I know.
Viewing nature as nature.
တော့အားထုတ်တဲ့နေရာမှာအားစိုက်ဆရာမလို့ recognize လုပ်ဖို့ပဲဒါအမြင်နဲ့လုပ်ရမှာထိုင်နေရှောက်ကြဘာပဲလုပ်နေ
So no need to put too much effort into the practice, just this recognizing of your experience and bringing that recognition with you through every movement, posture and activity.
အဲ့တော့တစ်ခုတည်းကိုစိုက်ပြီးတော့မလုပ်ပါနဲ့ဟိုတိနိုင်တယ်လို့များများတိတယ်ရတယ်အာရုံများများတိလည်းရတစ်ခုတည်းကြည့်ရမယ်လို့မပြော
If your mind doesn't naturally stay on one experience, allow it to take in as many experiences as it is aware of. There is no requirement for the mind to settle on one experience only and stay sustained on that. Yes?
ကိုလိုချင်တာကတတိကိုပို့လိုချင်တာတတိအားကောင်းလောက်လိုချင်တာ
All he's requiring is the awareness, the noticing of some experience or the other. And sustaining that.
သူတိဖို့ကြိုးစားနေတာဖြစ်နေတာကိုတိဖို့ကြိုးစားတာမဖြစ်အောင်လုပ်နေတာလည်းမဟုတ်ဘူးဖြစ်အောင်လုပ်နေတာလည်းမဟုတ်ဘူး
So what you're trying to do is know what is happening. Recognize what's happening. You're not trying to not know it or know something else. Just know what you know.
ဘာပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ကောင်းကောင်းဆိုးဆိုးတိဖို့ရေးကြည့်တယ်တိအောင်ကြိုးစားနေတာ
Good or bad, please know it. We are here to try to know your experience.
ဘာကိုကြိုးစားနေတာလဲဆိုရင်ဖြစ်နေတာကိုတိဖို့ကြိုးစားတာငြိမ်အောင်ကြိုးစားနေတာမဟုတ်ဘူးဖြစ်အောင်ကြိုးစားနေတာမဟုတ်ဘူးပြောက်အောင်ကြိုးစားနေတာမဟုတ်
You're here to know what is happening as it is. You're not trying to make yourself become calmer. You're not trying to make yourself happier. You've not come here to achieve anything.
ဆိုတော့ဖြစ်နေတာအားလုံးဟာကိုယ်နဲ့လည်းမဆိုင်ဘူး
Whatever is happening to you has nothing to do with you actually.
ကိုယ်တာဝန်မရှိဘူး
It's not your responsibility to take care of your experience.
ကောင်းကောင်းဆိုးဆိုးကိုယ်နဲ့မဆိုင်ဘူး
Good or bad, it's nothing to do with you.
အခုဖြစ်နေတာလေအားလုံးအတိတ်ကလုတ်ခဲ့တဲ့ဟာတွေကြီးပဲအချိန်ရှိလို့အကြောင်းရှိလို့သူကလာပေါ်နေတာ
Everything you're experiencing in every moment is an accumulation of causes in a chain of past events, and it has resulted in this now and the next now and the next now.
အကြောင်းရှိရင်ဖြစ်လာမှာပဲအဲ့တော့ဘာမှမတတ်နိုင်ဘူးအဲ့တော့အမှန်တိုင်းနားလည်ရမှာ
So long as there is a causative agent, there will be a result now, and you are not in charge.
အဲ့တော့ကိုယ်လုံနိုင်တာသူ့အာယုံအဖြစ်ဒါမှမဟုတ်တဘာဝတရားအဖြစ်ပဲတွေးလို့ရမှာ
All you can do is remember to think of you, the experience, as nature or an object.
ပြီးရင်သူ့ကိုသိချင်စိတ်နဲ့တတိထားကြည့်ရမှာ
And then with some curiosity, observe what is happening.
ပြီးရင်အဲ့တတိကိုကြာကြာထိန်းထားပါပဲ
And if you can sustain that awareness as much as possible, that'll be good.
အဲ့ယောဂီလောက်ရမယ့်အလုပ်၃မျိုးပဲ
That's the 3 kinds of
ယောဂီjob
yogi job, he says.
ဖြစ်နေတဲ့ပုံမှာအယူမှန်ရမယ်
To have right view
about experience နော်
about the experience you have,
ပြီးတော့တတိရှိရမယ်
to have the awareness
ပြီး
of
တော့
the
maintenance
experience,
awareness ကိုထိန်းထားနေရမယ်
and to maintain it. What is the yogi jobs? The 3 yogi jobs?
ဟုတ်ယောဂီလာလာမေးတော့ဘာဆက်လုပ်ရမလဲဘာမှလုပ်စရာမရှိဘူးဒါပဲ
Yep. He says, Balapya,
ယောဂီလာလာမေးဘာဆက်လုပ်ရမလဲ
yogis come to him and say, what else should I do, Sayadaw? He says, there's nothing to do. Just carry on. Yeah? Have right view, be aware, maintain that awareness.
ဘာဖြစ်လို့ aware လုပ်တယ်ဆိုတော့လည်းသိရမယ်နော်ဘာဖြစ်လို့ aware လုပ်နေဆိုတော့သူက learning process မဟုတ်ဘူးကိုကနားမလည်သေးရင်တော့သူက learning လုပ်နေရမှာပဲ
He says, why do we have to do these 3 yogi jobs? He says, because Vipassana is about learning. And until we've learned something, we just have to keep observing. Because it's the observation that leads to the learning.
ဆိုတော့ထိုင်တာပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ရှောက်တာပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ဘာပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ဒီခုနပြောလို့စိတ်ကတော့ဒီအထုံမှုကစိတ်အထုံနေတဲ့စိတ်ကအမြဲဖြစ်နေရမှာ
So whether you are lying down or walking or sitting or doing washing pots or ringing bells or whatever, or staring into space, your job is to do these 3 things.
နောက်မြင်တာနဲ့ကြည့်တာလည်းထည့်ပြီးအထုပ်ပါ
And do remember to recognize your obscure senses like seeing. Yes.
ဘာလို့လဲမျက်စိမိတ်ပြီးအထုပ်ရင်ပြဿနာတွေများအများဟိုပြဿနာတွေဖြစ်တယ်
He says because he notices that when yogis close their eyes and practice meditation, a lot of problems come up.
ထင်ရတယ်ရှောက်ထင်တယ်
Because they start imagining things with their eyes closed.
ဆိုမျက်လုံးဖွင့်လိုက်ရင်ပြဿနာပျောက်သွား
So if you open your eyes, problems are all gone. Because there's only reality to see.
ဟိုလူကြီးကပုံစံပြောင်းနေတယ်လက်ရှိတယ်လို့ထင်ရတယ်ဟိုလိန်နေတယ်လို့ထင်ရတယ်ပုံစံအမျိုးမျိုးထင်ရတယ်ဒါကမျက်စိပိတ်ထားလို့စိတ်ကသူကရတဲ့ information ကိုသူအသေးပဲရှောက်ပေါ်တယ်
When we have our eyes closed, we sometimes think our bodies are becoming long and short, and twisted and spinning. But if you open your eyes, it's just like this. Because what happens is the mind takes its sensory input and it puts its own layer on it when your eyes are closed. And depending on what state of mind you have, you know, it might feel like it's spinning or twisting or long or short or whatever, or gigantic. But if you open your eyes, it's just like
နောက်ပြီးတော့မျက်လုံးဖွင့်ပြီးတော့အထုတ်တတ်ရမယ်ဒါမှတရားမှပြည့်စုံတယ်
And we must actually know how to practice meditation with our eyes open. Then only the practice will be complete.
ချို့ယောဂီကပြောသူမျက်လုံးဖွင့်လို့မရဲဘူးလေမျက်လုံးမဖွင့်ရဲဘူးဘာဖြစ်လို့လဲတမားပြတ်သွားတယ်
Because some yogis say to Sayadaw, Sayadaw, I don't dare to open my eyes because when I open my eyes, I lose all my samadhi.
သူတမားကဘာလို့တမားမျိုးလဲခိုင်မှမခိုင်ပါ
So what sort of samadhi is that? That's not very stable if you just have to open your eyes to lose it all.
မျက်လုံးဖွင့်လိုက်တမားမရှိဘူးဆိုသူအပြင်သွားရင်ဘယ်လိုလုပ်မလဲ
So if you open your eyes and don't have samadhi, then how to function in this world?
ဆိုတော့အချိန်တိုင်းသတိတမားဉာဏ်နဲ့အမြဲတမ်းဖြစ်အောင်လုပ်ဖို့ဆိုတာမျက်လုံးဖွင့်လို့မလွယ်တော့ဘူး
We want to develop sati samadhi panya all the time. And if we can't do it with our eyes open, very difficult.
So daily life မှာဘယ်လိုအထောက်လို့ရမလဲ
So how to practice in daily life if you can't function with your eyes open? because you lose your samadhi.
အဲ့မြင်တာနဲ့လည်းပတ်သက်ပြီးတရားသဘောတွေအများကြီးနားလည်နိုင်တာပဲနားလည်စရာတွေရှိတာပဲမြင်တာပဲလူမြင်တာလေမြင်တတ်တဲ့လူရှိလို့လား
There's so much dhamma in the act of seeing, just as there is with everything else. You know, who is seeing, what is the process of seeing?
မြင်တတ်တဲ့လူရှိလို့လား
Is there a being who's seeing?
အမှန်မြင်တာကဖြစ်နေတာကြားတာတွေကဖြစ်နေတာလူမဟုတ်ဘူး
Actually, seeing is just a process. Hearing is just a process. There's not a person that's doing it.
အဲ့မြင်တာတရားပဲဓမ္မပဲအဲ့အောင်မြင်လို့မြင်မှတရားမသိနိုင်တာအာမမထုတ်ဘူးမြင်တာကိုအာမထုတ်ဘူးလို့
Seeing is a process. Seeing is dhamma. Hearing is the same, and so are all the others. He says, but we never pay attention to it to discover the dhamma nature of all our processes.
ဟောမြင်တိုင်းကြည့်တိုင်းကကိလေသာတွေပြင်းနေဖြစ်နေတယ်အဲ့တော့မြင်တာတရားလို့မြင်နိုင်တယ်နားလည်နိုင်တယ်ဆိုရင်မြင်တိုင်းကြည့်တိုင်းမှာတရားကိလေသာတွေဖြစ်ခွင့်မရဘူး
In all our sense contexts, seeing, hearing, very often what we're generating is unskillful mind states towards seeing, hearing, and so on. Bale? Arabiro.
မြင်တာနဲ့ခုနကပြောကိလေသာတွေမြင်တာနဲ့ကြည့်တာနဲ့ကိုယ်ကိလေသာတွေကဖြစ်နေပြီ
Arabibi.
အဲ့တော့ဒါပဲပေါ့
Arabala.
အဲ့တော့မြင်တာကြည့်တာအာမထုတ်ဘူးလို့
Amatobulu. So, in order not to be generating those unskillful states every time we see, hear, and so on, we have to practice with those states of being in order to develop actually sati samadhi panya about these processes, recognizing these processes with the right view.
တနေ့တနေ့ဘယ်နှခါလောက်ကြည့်လဲ
How many times do you look in a day?
ဘယ်နှခါလောက်ကြည့်လဲ
How many times do you know you are looking in a day?
ခန္ဓာကိုယ်ကြီးပဲမှတ်နေတယ်တော့ဒါကြီးကကြံခဲ့တယ်
Because we're so busy being aware of the body, we are not skillful at noticing every other varied experience that we have.
ခေတ္တပြောရင်စိတ်ကိုရှုတဲ့လူကဒီကြည်တာတွေနားထောင်တာတွေအလိုလိုပါသွားတယ်ဘာလို့ဒါစိတ်အလုံးမလို့
If we recognize mind and its movements and how mind is moving things, then he says the recognition of looking and listening and all comes naturally because it is mind at work that directs us to look or
mind
listen.
activity တွေပဲ mind အမူအရာတွေပဲ
These are movements of mind or mental activities.
ဆိုတော့စုံသွားမှတော့ဒီတတိတမာတိဉာဏ်ဘက်ကတက်လာမှာ
So only when we have a more complete picture of our being, of all our processes, then our understanding, our wisdom will grow.
ကိုကဖောင်းနေပိနေကိုခန္ဓာကိုယ်ပဲကြည့်ပြီးတော့ကိလေသာတော့မဖြစ်ပါဘူးဒါပေမဲ့မြင်တာကြည့်တာတွေမကြည့်ရဘူးဖြစ်နေကြည့်လိုက်ရင်ကိလေသာဖြစ်ပြီ
So we do rising.
ကိုကဘယ်တော့မှအပြင်မကြည့်ရဘူးဖြစ်နေမှာပေါ့
So we do a lot of rising, falling, and defilements don't seem to arise. No unskillful states of mind arise, but we don't dare to look or listen in case unskillful states of mind arise. But then we never become skillful when looking and listening. So we need to practice.
Practice က down စီရမယ်စုံရမယ်ဒါမှဘဝနဲ့အထုတ်တဲ့ဉာဏ်မှာအဆင်ပြေမယ်
So the practice must cover all corners, aspects of our being, and only then we will become skillful at using the practice in our lives.
နောက်စကားပြောတာဒီတစ်ပတ်အတွင်းတော့စကားကိုတတ်နိုင်ရင်တော့မပြောပါနဲ့ဒါပေမဲ့ဟိုအကျိုးမရှိတာဆိုမပြောပါနဲ့ပြီးတစ်ပတ်ပြီးရင်ပြောခိုင်းပါမယ်
Sayadaw is quite famous for getting people to talk when practicing, but he's not going to ask you to talk this week. He says,
တစ်ပတ်ပြီးရင်ပြောခိုင်းပါမယ်
but next week he will tell you when you can talk. Okay?
mindfully
Mindfully, yes.
ပြောအလုံးပြောကိုပြောမယ်အချိန်တိုင်း
So when he says when to speak, then he will be requiring you to actually choose someone and speak with
တစ်
someone.
ချိန်တတ်မှပေးမယ်အချိန်တိုင်းစကားထိုင်ပြောစကားတတိနဲ့ပြောတာ
He will give you a time to sit and actually mindfully talk to someone, and you must do it. But this week he says, please don't talk if it's not necessary, especially if it's unskillful. Please don't speak.
အဲ့တော့တတိတမာတိဉာဏ်ကြီးအားနည်းသွားမဲ့ကိစ္စမျိုးတွေမလုပ်ပါနဲ့
This week, anything that will jeopardize your sati samadhi or panya, your awareness, your stability of mind, or your wisdom, don't do it.
So,
This week is to help you gain momentum.
momentum
Momentum is so important for the practice.
momentum ရပြီဆိုမှဝိပဿနာအားထုတ်တဲ့အဆင့်လို့တော့ပြောလို့ရတယ်ပြောမယ်ဆိုပြောလို့ရတယ် momentum ရလာတော့တဘာဝအတိုင်းစိတ်ကတဘာဝဖြစ်လာမှတော့ဝိပဿနာအားထုတ်တယ်လို့တော့ပြောလို့ရတယ်
He says he might even go so far as to say it's only when you have momentum in the practice and it feels like the practice is doing itself. Do you know what I mean? It's doing, the mind is doing its own practice, that vipassana begins.
So continuity အရေးကြီးတယ်ပေါ့နော်
So continuity, please.
နောက်အဲ့တော့အားထုတ်နေနေလေခုနကကိုယ်စိတ်ကိုပြန်စစ်ပါပြန်စစ်တာလေးကအရေးကြီးပါပြန်စစ်တာလေးကကောင်းတယ်ကိုသတိပေးလို့ရတယ်ပြန်စစ်လို့ရတယ်
In this continuity, it is not wrong to often check how you are feeling.
No.
Check your mind.
တွေးလို့ရတယ်ကိုအားထုတ်မှုအကြောင်းကိုစဉ်းစားလို့ရတယ်ဒီရုပ်အကြောင်းစဉ်းစားလို့ရတယ်စိတ်အကြောင်းစဉ်းစားလို့ရတယ်ဒါတွေကသတိကိုအားပေးတယ်
And it is not wrong in this continuity to think about practice, to think about how to apply practice, because that helps the practice to think about should I do it this way or should I do it that way, a little bit to help direct
စိတ်က
your
ဘာလုပ်နေ
practice.
လဲသတိရှိသလားမရှိဘူးလား
What is the mind doing now? Is it aware? Is it not aware?
အဲ့လိုတွေးပေးနေတာတရားကိုစိတ်ကတရားကိုဘယ်လိုအားထုတ်နေလဲအဲ့လိုကိုပြန်မေးတဲ့အလေးချင်းလုပ်ပါ
Little thoughts that check your own practice to see whether you are practicing, how you are practicing, whether it's working.
အဲ့တော့ရုပ်အကြောင်းစဉ်းစားစိတ်အကြောင်းစဉ်းစားရင်လည်းသူကသတိရှိတယ်
When you are thinking about your body or your mind, as in like, how is the pain here or what is this confusion like? When you are thinking about your body and mind, there is also awareness. Because at that time you have to pay attention to your experience to think about it, so awareness is present.
ဟိုတော့ဘာကြံသေးလဲအဲ့တော့ပိန်ဖြစ်တဲ့အခါပိန်နာလာချင်တာရှုတဲ့အခါကျရင်လေပျောက်ဖို့ရှုတာလည်းမဟုတ်ဘူးတက်တောင်ရှုတာလည်းမဟုတ်ဘူးနားလည်အောင်ရှုတာ
When there is pain, you don't observe pain because you need to conquer it. You're not observing pain to make it go away. Meditation is not to cure pain or to relieve pain. You're watching it so that you understand the process of mind and body interacting when there's pain.
ကိုတခုရှုတတိထားကြည့်တယ်ဆိုတော့ဒါနဲ့ပတ်သက်တော့ကိုယ်မှာဘာအသိဉာဏ်ရမလဲဒါတွေ့ကြည့်တာပဲ
So you're observing because you want to know what could I learn about my body and my mental reactions to pain and how they affect each other by observing it. That's the goal, to learn.
နားလည်ခြင်းလို့သိခြင်းလို့လေ့လာနေတာ
So it's an investigation to learn and understand.
တချို့ဆိုရင်ယောဂီတော်တော်များများဒီအာယုံရှုတာကြာပြီဒါပေမဲ့ဒီအာယုံနဲ့ပတ်သက်လို့သူတို့နားမလဲဘူးသဘောမပေါက်လာဘူးဘာကြောင့်လဲဆိုတော့ငြိမ်ခြင်းနဲ့စိတ်နဲ့လုပ်သိခြင်းစိတ်နဲ့မလုပ်
Some yogis observe one object for a long time, but they don't understand anything about the object, just that they're observing it, and that's because of the mindset with which they observe. They're only observing because they want the mind to be quiet. They're not observing because they want to learn more. So why you're observing is very important. Your own motivation directs.
လက်နှစ်ဖက်ထိထားတာဆိုရင်ထိတာပဲသိနေတယ်ဆိုရင်ထိတာပဲသူကြည့်နေတယ်ဒီတဲ့ပို့ပြီးတော့ဒီထဲမှာဘာတွေရှိတယ်ဆိုသူမစုံစမ်းတော့တကယ်တမ်းပြောရင်သူကထိတာလည်းရှိတယ်မာတာလည်းရှိတယ်ပြော့တာလည်းရှိတယ်ပူတာလည်းရှိတယ်အေးတာလည်းရှိတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့သူသိခြင်းစိတ်မရှိဘူးသူကငြိမ်ခြင်းတယ်ကြာရှုငြိမ်မယ်တခုတည်းစိုက်ရှုငြိမ်မယ်ဆိုပြီးတော့ရှုတယ်
For example, two fingers touching, and if the yogi just observes the touching sensation, that's all he'll know, maybe to calm the mind down. And if he's not willing to explore, there's so much more to know in these fingertips, but he won't discover it. There could be heat, pressure, intentions, all sorts of things. But if you don't explore, you won't know more. So that curiosity, the wanting to know what's this and what else is it, Yes, that's very important to bring into your practice.
အဲ့တော့အားမဆိုင်ရဘဲနဲ့ဟိုနိုးနိုးကြကြရှိဖို့ဆိုတော့ဒီစိတ်ဝင်စားမှုရှိမှရ
So to practice without putting in too much effort, the key to it is interest. So it doesn't feel effortful because you're interested to watch.
အဲ့တော့ဖောင်းတာပိန်တာဘာဖြစ်လို့ဖြစ်လဲ
Why does the abdomen rise and fall?
တိပိသားလူတွေမဖြစ်ရနော်
Those who already know the answer, please don't answer the question. Why does the abdomen rise and fall?
ဟို rising falling ကိုကြည့်တာကြားလာပြီလေ
Have you all done rising falling in your practice?
many years ဟမ်
Many years.
ဘာဖြစ်လို့ဖောင်း
So why does it rise and fall? Pressure.
this ဘာကြောင့် pressure ပေါ်လဲ
Why is there pressure?
yeah
Why is there this movement of air? Intention to breathe.
yeah breathe ဟုတ်ပြီ
Right.
breathe ကြောင့်နော်အသက်ရှူလို့
So because of breathing, there is a rising and falling of the abdomen.
အဲ့တော့ဘယ်ဟာအရင်လဲ
Which comes first? Breathing or rising and falling? Sorry? Together.
okay အဲ့ပြောချင်တာဒါနဲ့ပတ်သက်လို့အတိအရှိရမှာ
So you see, we observe a rising and falling, but we have to know more about it, a more complete picture.
အဲ့လိုမျိုးပဲလေ့လာစရာတွေအများကြီးရှိတယ်
So many things to discover if we'll allow
ခန္ဓာ
us.
ကိုယ်နဲ့စိတ်နဲ့အမြဲတမ်းဆက်ဆက်နေတာပဲ
The body and the mind are always interacting.
ဒီအကြောင်းကျိုးတွေကိုများများမြင်လေအနတ္တကိုနားလည်လေပဲ
The more we see these cause-effect interactions of mind and body, the clearer the understanding of anatta. I hesitate to use the word non-self. Anatta becomes. No self is good? Yeah. Yeah.
okay now ဘာကြံလေးလဲဘာကြီးပြောဖို့ကြံလေးဆိုတော့ဒီလောက်ဆိုလုံလောက်ပြီထင်တယ်အားထုတ်လို့ရပြီထင်တယ်နော်
Sayadaw thinks that's enough. He thinks you'll be able to practice, yes?
ဟို interview ကြမှာထပ်ပြောမယ်
So during interviews, then he'll say more, and it'll be more
မရှိ
tailored
လို့ရှိ
to
ရင်
each
question answer ကြ
person.
ရင်ထပ်မေးပါ
More tailored to each person, and if not, then during the question and answer sessions, you will also be able to ask more questions.
အခုတော့စာအုပ်လည်းဖတ်လိုက်အောင်စာအုပ်လည်းဖတ်ပါ
And you all have received a copy or taken a copy of Sayadaw's book. Please read the book as well.
so question answer tomorrow or maybe change
Tomorrow we'll start groups, and then Monday morning
okay
we'll come at the same time.
okay yeah
So tomorrow we will begin group interviews in the afternoon and evening, and on Monday morning, same time, Sayadaw will do a question and answer.
okay yeah
Okay, thank you.
yeah